Welcome to another edition of the official Catchup podcast. I'm Ben, and I'm joined by the regulars themselves, Moza and Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, doing all right. Obviously, as people know from last week, I'm watching the dog. I'm just trying to keep I'm from getting heat stroke. That's been the mission the last week or so because it's still bloody boiling.
And of course, Moza, Mr. Broomhill himself. How you doing?
I'm no bad. It's the dog. It's been still me for getting heat stroke last couple of days. So life is good though. Life is good.
Aye, can't complain. Football is back and we're full flow, so we're pretty happy. Just a shout out to our sponsors, the Soccer Shop Direct. You can find them on Twitter at the Soccer Shop D. Check out their website www.thesoccershopdirect.com for all your teamwear and football equipment needs. A couple of stories we talk about. I think one of the ones we're going to talk about is Fort William. They have been had some meetings with the Lowland League and they will be playing all the matches away, I believe, Chris.
Yeah, it's obviously there's been a bit of a discussion online about it, but I don't know. I just feel like the timing's a bit strange. I mean, they've played one game already. I think it was away from home. The pitch is obviously in a strange state, but everyone knows that their ground's not exactly in the best nick the last few seasons. I think the thing that I sort of question about the whole affair is how did that ground get their license in the first place? I mean, there's certain things you've seen, obviously, like the West of Scotland teams, East of Scotland teams do all these ground improvements to get up to scratch. How did that ground even get a license in the first place? There's been something weird there because I mean it's not even closed off, and that's part of the requirements of a license. So I just find it very strange. Obviously, it is unplayable, but the SFA renewed their license in December. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh well, they probably didn't come and check the ground," but is it not a bit of a farce that the league are saying, "Oh well, you can't play that ground; it's unsuitable," but they have a license to say that they can have Scottish Cup games there? I mean, to me, it's just really bizarre. But I don't know. I don't. What are your guys' opinion on the whole matter?
Well, for what we know, they had drainage work done over the summer. So the SFA haven't seen that, obviously, since it was back in December that they renewed it. And the grass just suddenly grew back the way they thought it was going to grow back. So it's one of those things, but you'd think with your season starting, you'd probably give the league a heads up and say, look, might need to play away a few games here. Just fancy giving his hand. For whatever reason, I've no bothered to tell anyone. So it's taken... Right, I'm not having that as a random member of the public. Right, that's just not what's happened here. Someone has decided that they're out of line and they're going to get it. It's not some random goodwill person that's going to go, there's a wee bit of sparse patches there. Maybe I should tell the Highland League about it. No chance. It's a shame for the club because we'll need to find out what's happening with revenue and stuff, but a club of Fort William size is struggling already financially. If they're not going to get any income and they're playing all away games, I struggle to see them having a future.
Yeah, that's another issue with it. I would say, and I totally agree. I mean, it does seem that was another thing, the whole timing of it, and then the whole a concerned person or whatever. It's like what? It's like it's all dodgy to me. I think it is a wee bit dodgy. Like, what about yourself, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know an awful lot about the situation, the history on it, but I think from what I've seen online and what's been discussed, it does feel a bit like it's a weird bit of timing, and it does feel like what your guys were saying. It doesn't feel like just a random kind of complaint from someone. I think for whatever reason, if someone's got an agenda against something, this is probably a good opportunity to really to target them, I guess. And it's a difficult one for them. I think, I don't know if maybe from a COVID perspective, they maybe struggle to maintain the pitch well and things like that. And they've also done that drainage work as well, so that's probably factored into the work, and it's just become an unfortunate situation. But I hope they can survive out this. So that's the main thing for us. I think not too sure what has really gone on behind the scenes, but don't want to see a team like Fort William kind of go to the wall because of a situation like this. But I guess if they have the license, they'll be able to play in the Scottish Cup, and maybe if they can get a run at the Scottish Cup and get a few games and get some money in their bank from shared gates and whatever like that, then that might be the thing that's going to be driving them on to keep going and maybe sacrificing those home games because they know they can maybe get a few rounds out of the Scottish Cup, potentially get to a big draw and then play a big team and get get a good payday and maybe go and fix that pitch properly at some point and do the things they need to do. But it's a weird one. But let's say hopefully they can get it sorted out.
I just can't get my head around it. I mean, we're obviously mentioning the Scottish Cup, but I don't even think. I mean, how can the SFA renew their licence? I know, again, we go back to the fact they might not be out and check the pitch and stuff, but if the Highland League are saying that their ground's going to be unsuitable for the whole season, then surely there has to be licence issues in there. Because, that's what I'm kind of trying to get my head around, because wouldn't it be a wee bit embarrassing to say, oh yeah, you can play your Scottish Cup games there, but you can't play your league games there? Come on.
To be fair, I don't know if the SFA would ever been made aware of it until now, so I don't know if we can blame them.
But should they not be aware of it though? If they're doing renewals and checks and clubs are...
For William not told the league. For William should have told the league what the issues were, shouldn't they? They should have.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the part of the licence is it's incumbent on the club to keep both league and kind of overbearing organisation aware of any changes. Thing is, it might not be allowed in the Scottish Cup now. Because what's to stop the SFA going, well, your licensed ground doesn't actually pass water anymore, so we're actually going to relegate you at the end of the season and you're not getting in the cup.
Yeah, it probably comes at a worst time for football because they can now get relegated. I think obviously before they've not had that kind of concern as much, but now obviously with the Midland League and stuff and the North Cali coming into play, then it's making it a bit more likely they could potentially get relegated if they do. But I don't know if they get like a points deduction or whatever for having unfit ground, but certainly it's possible, and that's probably a worry for football. Even if you go down, it might be hard to spring back up out of these leagues. All right, so moving on to the weekend prior in the Lowland League, we'll start off with everybody's favourites, the Colt teams, and Celtic B took on East Kilbride, and it was a 1-1 draw at the Pennycar Stadium.
Yeah, there wasn't much. Well, in fact, there was updates for this from Celtic B up until about the hour mark, and then they sort of disappeared. So I'm assuming they had some connection issues. I know East Kilbride don't really have a sort of dedicated media person, so they obviously had apologies sent out for whoever was obviously not at the game or a wee bit distracted with the match. But yeah, East Kilbride's first Lowland League game, favourites in many eyes, obviously. But it was Celtic B that opened the scoring. Owen Moffat's goal in the 43rd minute sees the B boys go into half-time in front. I don't know if you guys saw the highlights, but it was a lovely team goal, really good finish. And obviously there was not much to say about the second half because we didn't get many sort of match reports or whatever. But Craig Malcolm equalised late on through, I believe, what people have described sort of calamity defending from the young Celts there. So I did end 1-1. It was our first catch-up game of the week of the season, I should say. I was interested in this one because Celtic B, I think they struggled against the sort of physical side of Bonnyrigg Rose, albeit they did have a sort of close game with them. Obviously, I've sort of highlighted that I think that, I've said it many times, I think East Kilbride with the older legs might struggle against the younger side. So for me, it was a kind of a fascinating fixture to see who would win between youth and experience. And then, of course, it turns out to be a draw. So I don't even know how to describe it. I think it's a good result for Celtic B. I think they'll be more happy than Stephen Aitken will be, obviously, if he's going to be chasing for the title this season. But I don't know. We've kind of seen it. We'll get into Rangers B, obviously, but I think the Colts team both Colts teams are looking really good this season. I think we will get a lot of these results where Colts will either get wins or points against the so-called bigger teams, if you will. We've already seen it, so hard to really say. But I don't think Stephen Aitken will be happy with the draw there. I think he would have loved to start the league campaign with a win.
Giffen have had a pretty decent Premier Sports Cup as well. They've put in a few decent performances. They obviously get gifted their best one in our history as well because of Kelly doing a Kelly. But I don't think he'll be too disheartened with a 1-1 draw there because it was largely an unknown going to play Celtic in Airdrie. Nobody knew how they were going to react to that being their home ground. They also had a decent performance against Bonnyrigg, but the more the games come, I feel like the better the B sides will get playing together and adjusting to the level. We've both mentioned, I think, but you probably more strongly, Chris, that Kilby might be a bit vulnerable to pace if you go directly at them with a bit of a pace and really worry that defence. But yeah, The highlights seemed a pretty fair balance overall in the piece. Obviously, if they kind of held on at the end and defended better, Celtic B probably get the win there. But it was, you could tell there was a few young boys that maybe not necessarily just in the legs were tired, but mentally as well. And that's what's going to be good for them this year. And regardless of what any opinions are on the cold teams, that these guys who potentially wouldn't have gone out on loan, like they're actually getting a decent level of experience and they'll learn for, well, they switched off the last 5-10 minutes. They were just knackered. Simple as that.
I think it's pretty clear as well from the two cold teams. And I know we're getting Rangers in more detail, but it seems that Rangers are a lot better than the Celtic cold side. I think looking at our Celtic B, we don't call them colds, and we call them B teams.
Call them B teams.
Whereas Chris referred to them as the B boys. I'm like that one. The B boys are in town. You can see the fan chants right now. But yeah, I think that's the thing. I think certainly the weaker of the two. Celtic, so a tough test for them. I'd expect against Kilbride and Kilby. Obviously, we're rooting for them in terms of. We think they'll win the league. So unfortunate again for dropping points. They probably see it as drop points. Let's be honest, but I don't think it'll be the game that kind of affects them over the course. I still think Kilbride will have enough to do it over the piece. All right, moving on to Broomhill versus Vale Leaden at the Indodrill. We'll go to our Broomhill correspondent, Mr. Derek Robertson.
And yeah, it was a first win under the guys of Broomhill for us. So relatively routine in the end. It might not have been had things played out differently, but just before half time, first goal came from the penalty spot. Adam Moss got the ball after an attack was cleared away. Left back was encouraged to go into the box, which isn't his normal game. Ran to the byline, and it was just a weird barge. There was no reason for the Vale defender to do it, but he totally barged him out the way. Stonewall penalty, and Ryan Cinnamon dispatched it brilliantly to give us a lead. It's a perfect time to score before half time. In all honesty, the second half, Vale had the better start, I would say, in terms of chances. They missed a couple of really, really decent opportunities. But there was a few wake-up calls given, and we responded the right way. So 20 minutes left. Finlay Gray basically killed the match, made it 2-0. Work between him and Scotty Cusick, who was my man of the match. Kind of back and forth passes, put him in acres of space. The Vale defenders thought he might have been offside and basically stopped at that point, and he finished high past Pedden. And kind of carbon copy, just the last few minutes of the game, Dom Lavelle off the bench got his account opened. Cammy McNair picked him out. He exchanged passes with Gabe Skier. Again, the Vale defence just stopped totally static, assuming offside was going to be given. When he was onside, it was someone else that was standing off, and they made no mistake. 1-1 with the keeper, slotted it under him. And in the end, a pretty routine, pretty comfortable 3-0 win. But as I say, if Vale had equalised, it was a totally different game. So positives and things to build on still, but bearing in mind that Gormley's only been in charge now for just over a week, I think he was pretty happy on the piece, and the squad's only been together for that long as well. There's still new faces in it. Cassidy looked a lot better, centre-back who's just joined for Clyde. So slowly but surely the boys are beginning to understand what's been asked of them and getting to know each other, and you can see it's going to be a different season for us, but there's definite potential there.
That seems to be the sort of flavour of the weekend. I think the majority of games you saw either early goals or goals just before half time or late winners and that, so it's very strange to have every game almost like that, and it's interesting. I did think obviously that the Broomhill would be the winners there, but I guess out with the match, obviously your Sevco BSC comments. What are your sort of reactions to that?
Twitter beef. So Vale obviously tried to be a wee bit funny on the Twitter, and it didn't work too well, in my opinion, because there's plenty more creative ways to slag us off than try to link us with Sevco, you know. And both of them went back and forth a wee bit, and it got a bit tousy, and I had the popcorn and I was quite enjoying it. So I'm all for a bit of nonsense beef at this level. Makes things more interesting, right? And to be fair, I had a wee jab at Vale earlier on with my own little retweet, but mine was a bit more gentle, Put it that way. I didn't get a response to mine.
I'm not going to lie, I just thought it was pretty funny from Phil.
I did as well, yeah.
I thought that was quite clever, actually, in the grand scheme of things. But I guess for you, was that Ryan Simon looks the guy for you this season? He was the key player for your
well, obviously he's a captain, but there was a slightly different formation used. So Cinnamon was sitting in front of the back four as an out-and-out defensive mid, and it worked. So he was kind of spraying the play out to the wings and so on. Scotty Cusick and Gabe Skier were brilliant on both wings, cutting inside and creating chances. Had two big boys up front in Slavin and Evans that really ran themselves into the ground, and good signs. Good signs. It's early days still, obviously, but there's enough talent in there for us to win a few games in this league.
I was just going to say, I've seen that Michael's really pushing the Gabe, the Meg, sort of. Is that his new nickname? Yeah.
He's doing his best to make it a thing, but I've not caught on to it yet, so we'll see.
Talking about Michael, it took me 3 or 4 attempts to realise that he wasn't signing a new player called Yvan Edge Nodge. I thought, I was like, who's that they've signed it? And I was like, I read it back again, and I was like, right, he's joining.
It's on the Albanian striker, aye.
He's like, well confused, man. I was like, fair play. It got me reading it. I definitely got me reading the tweets because I was like, I don't see a player here, but I just see this phrase.
I caught onto that as well. Obviously, I think he's quite fond of his Simpson memes, Michael, isn't he?
He does love a bit of the Simpsons. You can probably tell. And also, if he'd also just put join the Navy, imagine the memes that would come out of that. So
I'm just going to say, just a point of order. How much have Broomhill done over Rossvale by taking Gorms about 2 weeks before the start of the season?
We have stenied them. We have stenied them, to be fair. No, I hope Rossvale do well. Like, they're obviously a club that Gorms had a big part in building up, and they're still the same club. So hopefully they can establish themselves in the West Premier, and we'll see what happens. They've got a new gaffer in charge now as well. So
have they?
I think it's them.
Well, yeah. I mean, they have got a new gaffer because he was in charge on Saturday. But I mean, Keith, I saw pretty adamant that he hasn't left. But he was
talking a Twitter beef. Aye,
wearing the Rossvale gear on the sideline on Saturday. So I think
that was enough for me. Yeah, to see Big Diag was in charge. So
but, I mean, hopefully Rossvale do well, because I think that's really unlucky that obviously the situation Broomhill where Hardy comes in and don't know whether Disney fans whoever then ends up leaving, and then you go and find a manager. And Gorms is the right guy, I think, for the job. Personally, yeah. I think I said before we even brought in Hardy that he was the guy probably to go for in terms of, if you're looking at managers in the West that they could do a job and a bigger team and a higher level. He certainly could do that, and I think he will. And I think but maybe just take him a few years to build the squad and get the squad right to go and challenge. But I don't see why he can't challenge at some point in the future.
Yeah, even off the pitch, the way he's built up Rossvale as a club as well. So it's a perfect fit, in my opinion, and benefit of hindsight. If he'd came in when Hardy came in, it might be a slightly different squad and maybe a slightly higher outlook in terms of where we want to finish this season. But it's a long-term project. So it's going to be a consolidation year, and we'll go from there.
They call it American sports rebuild year or something like that. It's a rebuild.
It's a rebuild and hopefully avoiding the bottom of the table, which is why I was very happy to get 3 points in the pokie at the weekend.
Absolutely. Moving on to the next match, it was Caledonian Braves versus University of Stirling. Shout out to my new friend Chris Geddes on Twitter. we're good mates now, so me and Chris. So unfortunately, it was a 4-1 defeat for Stirling, with Cali Braves taking the points.
Yeah, it was a strange game, actually. I was kind of watching this in the background. It was, I don't know how to even describe it. The first half, Stirling get forward from a long throw-in, and Jason Jarvis pokes at home against the run of play. It has to be said, because Cali Braves they looked like a different team from the team I saw against Dalbeattie. We'll obviously get towards the sort of end, but they did equalise on the 37th minute. It was Reece Armstrong who does brilliant to drive down the right and cut the ball to Cole Stars, who makes no mistake slotting home. So it was 1-1 at half time. And the second half, it was very strange. I don't know. I felt the game first half sort of lacked a wee bit of energy, but the second half, I would say the whole energy belonged to Cali Braves because they just looked to be a different team. 53 minutes, a lovely flick from Ross Lindsay gets the ball to Mark Kelly. He slots in Zach Butterworth, who volleys low first time with his left foot to give Braves the lead 2-1. Just after the hour mark, it was Reese Armstrong again, slices a looping volley into the path of Jamie Walker, who knocks the ball around the Stirling keeper to make it 3. And it was sealed on the 90th minute from the penalty spot with Mark Kelly slotting home for a really fantastic win for Caledonian Braves. It was... Ricky Waddle mentioned that he didn't feel that there was much difference between how they played against Dalbeattie. The only difference I would say, because they did have their chances in fairness, but I think they took their chances against Stirling Uni, and I feel like out of all the teams since we've been doing this podcast, I've probably been the harshest on Caledonian Braves, or formerly Edisport. And the reason being is because I think they've always had teams that we've sort of rated, especially if you look at last season, and they've maybe underperformed. And now they've kind of got a team that I know a few of the players, obviously, it's a younger squad. They're not going to get off lenient for that because obviously there's a lot of teams with a younger squad, but I just feel, in fairness to them, I think I said I didn't feel really inspired by some of the guys they've brought in, but so looking at some of the younger guys and how they played against Stirling Uni, I do think they might have a chance to maybe not to do better, but I don't think they're going to be as low as I thought they would be if they play like that. But the big thing is obviously consistency. That's always been an issue. It's always been a tag that we've given them, obviously, consistently inconsistent, which is, I think, is a wee bit also unfair because you can apply that to a lot of the sort of mid to lower teams. So I was impressed. I was impressed by Cali Braves, but I think it would have been a different game for Stirling had they took their chance. It was almost like an opposite thing. They were kind of like playing like Cali Braves did against Dalbeattie, where they just didn't take their chances, and Braves definitely punished them. And the defending, I think Chris mentioned it in his interview, but it was poor defending on a few of the goals. But it's one of those ones where in this league you have to take your chances, you have to be switched on. And we've seen a lot of teams get punished, especially this weekend, because they've not been switched on for key moments, as we kind of alluded to earlier, obviously just before half time, sort of towards the end of the game. So, yeah, a really good win. A wee bit more impressed with Cali Braves, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, we can give them praise one week, but we might be back to criticising them next. It's the way of these podcasts, obviously. We can only sort of base it on results and what we see, but yeah, hopefully they get a few more results, but they've got a tough game coming up, obviously, which we'll cover later. So, yeah, impressed. I wouldn't worry too much about Stirling Uni. I think it was just an off day for them.
This is going to be the first of a few times I need to hold my hands up and say I got it wrong, because I thought Stirling would take it, basically. I'm delighted for Big Ross Lindsay, though, who's been named Braves captain. She's a great lad, and he's always been a classy midfielder. He's never really get the chances, but at least when he was with BSC Glasgow, now Broomhill. But he deserves it, and I think you'll see him begin to shine when he gets a few games in a row under his belt. It sounds like he's already making an impression there, and I've only seen a few of the highlights, but it just felt like Stirling Uni were a bit tired more than anyone else. They were just a step off it compared to what I saw midweek. I don't know if Chris has had them in for extra sessions, or they just seemed a wee bit off the pace. I felt like that second half, and maybe a day or two rest and they'll be fine to go again. But give credit where it's due. Braves, after getting a few questions, not just for us, I think quite a lot of people have been questioning them. That's how you answer it. Going win a game 4-1, having gone behind initially as well. So great performance.
Yeah, I think it's a great result for Cali Braves, because as you said, we've probably almost written them off a little bit, because we were looking at squad thinking they haven't really done a lot in terms of signings and things like that. Maybe not get the same strength. We were a bit worried about the fact maybe money was a bit tighter, so squad budget was down, etc. But I mean, that's one way to come back, and we've got a lot of probably got quite high expectations of University of Stirling from what we've seen over the last 2 years or so. So we probably expect them to win quite easily. But it's a good result. I think you maybe look down at later in the season if Cali Braves are maybe in a kind of dogfight, a relegation fight. That 3 points might be the crucial 3 points to keep them out of a relegation spot, because I think we're probably pretty clear by now that Vale will probably go down. But if Vale, for example, manage to turn that around and go on a run, then that'll put the pressure on, and Cali Braves will be lucky to get those 3 points, and they might be able to just chip away and get a few more points like that against some of the other teams, because that's probably what they need to do is kind of beat the teams around them rather than kind of worrying about the teams at the top, and that's one way to do it, is beat Uni.
I think there's a lot of comparisons you can make between Broomhill and Cali, because both sides haven't exactly had an ideal build up to the season. Cali haven't been able to bring in their students, especially going into the B team and so on. The likes of the boys coming over from France and Switzerland that supplement the squad and give them a wee bit of strength and depth. So it's I wouldn't be surprised to see the two of us being in very similar positions come the end of the season.
Just one wee note. Speaking about being harsh on teams, and it's probably being a Spurs fan, and Ben will know this. I'm only harsh on teams I actually rate, and obviously the Cali Braves have had teams that I've rated and maybe let me down. I could probably apply that to Cumbernauld Colts as well. So if I'm hard on you, it's not because I have an agenda against you or whatever. It's just because I actually rate you and want to see you do well. And I do want Cali Braves to do well. I'm just probably less familiar with some of the guys, obviously apart from like Ross Lindsay and that, this season compared to last. So it's always difficult when we're covering 18 teams or 17 previously or 16. It's difficult to try and keep balanced and whatnot. But if I'm harsh on you, it's because I rate you, and I have certainly rated Cali Braves in the past.
He won't be harsh on the Colts now though, because Sean Winter's there.
That's true, yeah. So I'm not going to be harsh on the Colts. Never.
Okay, moving on to Bet Rangers versus Gretna, and it was a 1-1 draw at Shielfield Park.
Yeah, really interesting one. This is one of those games that was quite tough to call. I think a lot of them we were quite confident in thinking which way we'd go. This one we went. That started off 32 minutes, opened the scoring. Harris winning a corner down the left, taking short, swung in and headed home emphatically by Jack Cook. So that put Berwick in front. And just a few minutes later, Gretna got straight away back on level pegging. Jordan, is it Chemo? Sorry if I've mispronounced that, Jordan. Been Gretna's main threat up to that point, and he managed to grab the equaliser from just inside the box. And I'm going to spend a wee bit of time on a particular update from Berwick. The 39th minute, the Shielfield crowd are treated to some theatrics that would be more suited to the Maltings as a Gretna trialist takes a tumble inside the box. Love little details, like just little kind of jabs rather than shots.
What is the Maltings? What is the Maltings? Is that like a theatre or something?
I believe it is a theatrical venue down the road. Okay. But the referee booked him for said performance was the ending of that tweet as well, which I quite enjoyed the theme going through it. But other than that, there wasn't too much to tell you about in terms of the second half. Both teams cancelled each other out. There was a chance right at the death. Mackenzie chasing the ball down 15 yards out, and some might say there was a trip by a visiting defender. The referee said no, waved away the protest from Berwick, and 1-1 it finished. So I don't know if Berwick will be happy with this. They probably felt like they were the favourites going into it. I know Gretna will be all right with it. Rowan will be happy to get off the mark. He was clearly frustrated with some of the comments he made previously about the start to the season, but that might just get Gretna going. Yeah,
I think that's a decent result for Gretna, given where they were last year in the league, and probably were quite a gap to Berwick. And Berwick, I've said before, or last week rather, that they looked pretty good from the pre-season stuff. And I think Berwick would be pretty disappointed in not taking the 3 points, but fair play to Gretna. A good point on an away trip.
Yeah, I believe. I know Sam. I think Sam North was at the game, and I think they made a massive deal with the thing towards the end of the game, where I think people were saying it was obviously it should have been whatever it would have been. I'm not even sure it was a free kick or a penalty, but apparently
I think they were saying a penalty, Chris. Aye.
But yeah, I don't know. I've not seen it, unfortunately. but obviously, I think for the Gretna goal scorer Jordan, he might be known to some sort of West of Scotland fans. So obviously, he used to play in the West Region Premiership, as it was known. It's interesting. I don't think Stuart Malcolm will be happy with the draw, but Gretna for me are more of an interesting one. Obviously, we're bringing in like Mark Shanks, the assistant manager. I think he was with. Was he with Rowan at Queen of the South? I think when they were, joint managers. So
played for Caledonian Rangers. We did Mark Shanks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course he was. He was co-manager as well.
Imagine
Chris
not saying that when Ben's here, you know.
Oh, of course, yeah. But it was more to do with the Rowan Alexander relationship. But yeah, of course, Kilwinning. I think
a legend in these parts.
Kilwinning manager twice, was he not? I'm sure he was manager in the early days, and then I think he was co-manager with Chris Strain, is what I've heard. But I don't know. But yeah, it's a decent draw for Gretna. I'm still reserving judgment on them because they're still bringing in players in. But yeah, it's good. It's probably better for Gretna than it is for Berwick, that result.
One thing I'll say about Gretna is it seems a lot less chaotic this summer than it has done the last couple of summers. They just seem to have taken a wee bit of the madness out of recruitment and so on. There's a bit more of a plan behind it. So obviously that can only be a positive thing.
Absolutely. Moving on then, next game is East Stirlingshire versus Rangers B at the Falkirk Stadium, and it was a 1-0 win for Rangers B, and they're sitting top of the Lowland League currently.
Yeah, both teams with a 100% record going into this. Great starts from both of them, but it was Rangers, as you mentioned, that kept theirs. I believe the sort of first sort of half-hour mark, it was a lot of chances for Rangers. The 38th was off the crossbar, Aaron. Lyle hits a cracking shot from just outside the box, which rattles the crossbar. Scores remain the same heading towards half-time until Cole McKinnon puts Rangers in the lead with a fantastic strike before half-time. Obviously, we've talked about the crucialness of goals before half-time and before the 90 minutes are up. Obviously, it seems to be a theme. I don't know why it's just been a theme this weekend, but yeah, Rangers got their goal just before half-time. 49th minute, Jay Hogarth pulls out a great save to deny Shire their equaliser, and the Shire did have an opportunity to for their equaliser just 5 minutes before full-time, an opportunity to Kieran Gibbons, hits the post, both teams creating dangerous chances in the closing minutes, but it was Rangers B that held on top of the league. I know there are Rangers fans that seem to be getting really excited about Rangers B obviously being sort of top of league at the moment. They have played some decent teams, I must admit. They have looked really good, but they do feel like, I'm not saying they're scraping by, but they're not blowing teams away, is what I would say. So definitely, I would say to get people that don't really know this level, don't get overly excited, because I don't think they're going to be going on an unbeaten run or anything like that, you know. So fair play to them. We've gave them credit. They've looked really great early on. But yeah, I wouldn't get overly excited after three games. So but yeah, I do expect them to do well. I think we said in the last podcast, it wouldn't surprise us for one of the Colts teams to at least be in the top four or up there. But I have seen a lot of people asking questions. Oh well, what happens if a Colts teams win the league? It's like, we do have a full season to go, so we'll wait. We'll wait and see.
Can I jump in at this point, gents? And it would be remiss of me not to say this. They are joint leaders with Dalbeattie Star. Correct. So let's give credit where it's due to the boys for here we go, the Borders debate again, but down the southern reaches. I think it is fair that Shire were disappointed. Like, you could tell for the reaction of them after the game, they felt that they were good for a point in that game, and Gibbons obviously came closest hitting the post. We mentioned the save just after half-time as well. Could have been a different game if they'd scored either of those, especially the earlier one. But I think need to give the Rangers B-side some credit. They're you wouldn't have expected a young side to be grinding out results like this. We talked about Celtic maybe being a wee bit lacking in composure and concentration at the last minutes. That wasn't the case here for the highlights I've seen. That both sides were just going hammer and tongs at each other for the last 5-10 minutes, which is what you want ultimately, is entertainment. I think that they will challenge, but I'm not convinced they'll win it. That's where I'm going to put my hat on this one. So I think Rangers B will finish above Celtic B. I think that's almost a given at this point. I fancy them, the likes of Kilbride and so on, to all be in the top 4, but I don't think they'll win it overall. That's my head in the chopping block.
I think they definitely look a good side. I mean, the players have got. I think the players the Rangers B team you probably knew more about before the B teams came into the league. I didn't know much about Celtic at all in terms of who they had in their squad, but I certainly knew names and things like that within the Rangers setup. So I think they've got more talent, certainly. I guess as well they can do it over the course. Maybe wait till we get into December and they're going to Gretna on a Wednesday night, and that maybe be the tough challenge, the old proverbial saying on it. Can you do it a cold Wednesday night and insert shitty football ground, basically? No disrespect to Gretna, so that wasn't meant to be.
I was going to say, geez, that
wasn't meant to be some sort of insult.
Man's building his own beef here.
I know. Wasn't meant.
What else do you want, mate?
I know.
The other spanner in the works for Rangers B could be that as League One and League Two teams pick up COVID issues or injuries, one or two of them might end up getting loaned out to a higher level if they're impressing. So that might affect their squad. So we'll see how those things play out.
Yeah, I mean that's possible, I think, but maybe you'll think about how the way this was pitched and how they want to have these boys playing together and as a unit and getting to work as a team. I don't know maybe if that will happen as much because they maybe want to try and keep that squad together to try and get in that confidence as a team and bring them through. And hopefully, I guess the ultimate thing for Rangers and Celtic is that they want to bring maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 of these players through in the first team at some point. I haven't seen them yet in great detail to be able to say if there's anything in those squads that are definitely going to come through. But that's why they're here. I mean, we can talk about the money thing all day, but Rangers and Celtic are here for the reason of development, and whether or not they go to the League Two or not, League One, who knows? At a later date. I don't want to steal your thunder, Mozza, because I think I had a great idea that basically if the B teams don't basically finish first and second, then the Lowland League could actually be the heroes and making it basically ruin the argument for having the cult teams in the League Two. But I believe I've missed a bit where you came in and you told me that you've already come up with that theory, so I was a bit gutted when you told me that earlier.
I am happy to have you backing up my theorem.
There we go, that's it. We're a team, that's it. So yeah, I think that's the thing, we can flip it on its head. There's a lot of talk about the Lowland League, obviously we can bend it over for a bit of money, but who knows, maybe just be the actual heroes of the hour in the end when Rangers and Celtic finished 4th and 5th, for example, but who knows? But yeah, it'll be interesting to watch how it develops. Point of order for Rangers: why put your highlights free on the internet so we can all watch them?
Yes, please. That's a good point.
Because get this paywall crap to. I'm trying to learn my swearing because I'm only paying 18 explicit if I keep swearing. But let's get the highlights out for free. I mean, who really cares? I mean, if they're behind the paywall.
Even if it's a couple of days later, stick them up on the Tuesday for free after you've let your RTV boys watch it on a Sunday or something. Just Celtic have put them out for free.
Yeah.
So, although Rangers, let's not get into it too much, but are now charging the media to talk to them, aren't they? So
it's true.
You'll get to see them when he's still on shit anyway, because they'll put them out. I don't know if they're already out, but you'll get to see the highlights from the East Stirlingshire. So
I looked for them earlier, but I couldn't find them. Yeah, I couldn't find them earlier on, but. Then there you go, Rangers. If that's happening, most teams will be doing their own highlight. So we'll get in there. So that's fine. Don't bother. Just keep your money. That's fine. The next game up is the Spartans versus Edinburgh Uni at Ainsley Park, and it was a 4-0 win for Spartans.
This one was one of the few games that we kind of predicted that went the way it was going to go. Started off 11 minutes on the clock. Sam Newman with a well-executed finish to give the Spartans the lead. But yeah, mini Edinburgh derby here. But I suppose Spartan Civil's more of the big derby, isn't it? But it was 1-0 half-time, so both teams, Spartans on top, Edinburgh Uni giving more than a good account of themselves. it began to fall apart for them in the second half, though. So 3 goals in the space of 6 second half minutes finished them off. Firstly, 54 minutes, great finish for Scott Maxwell after fine play by Sam Jones, and that opened the floodgates, because straight after that, Blair Henderson sent the keeper the wrong way from the spot after Mikey Allen was upended. And just a few minutes after that, Sam Jones got the goal that his play had deserved up to that point. A cracking free kick, if anyone's seen it, for the edge of the box. And that was it. Essentially 4-0. And both sides played it to a close from there. This is a worry with Edinburgh Uni, that they've got decent players in there that are capable as long as they keep things tight. As soon as you get 2 or 3 ahead of them, it can end up kind of dangerous for Dorian's side. So they'll dust themselves down and go again. Their remit this year is to keep things tight and try and steal points and steal results here and there. But Spartans, very professional job for a side that we've named as dark horses, and a lot of people quite fancy to do well. So we'll see if that kicks them into a decent run for this point.
Yeah, it was a really good, decent win. I've noticed a few things. Obviously, I certainly had some reservations. I think Mikey Allen's now playing at left back over Dan Bauer, which I think is a really decent move. He seems to be getting forward quite well. Obviously, won the penalty that Blair Henderson put away. I think again, it seems like it's quite harsh on Edinburgh Uni in the sense that they have conceded. I think the second and third goals were literally maybe less than a minute apart.
Yeah.
So it's those sort of moments that makes me worry about Edinburgh Uni, in the sense that where I think they're not as good as other teams with their, I wouldn't say concentration levels, but I do think there's certain moments where, like Vale leaving Edinburgh Uni, that they still suffer from. And I think we kind of saw that against Spartans. There's obviously a good relationship between Spartans and Edinburgh Uni. They had their wee sort of presentation. Dougie Samuel and Dorian Agunro, obviously really good friends, and obviously Dougie was Dorian's manager at Edinburgh Uni. So it's a good relationship, but I think when we sort of done our predictions, Edinburgh Uni are still down there for me. I do still worry about them with the same as Vale leaving, and it's because of things like that. They can be in games and you think they're quite comfortable and they can go out and attack and get goals, but there's just spaces or periods in the games where they can concede 2 or 3, and that's what we saw against Spartans.
Yeah, I think we've all said that about Edinburgh Uni. You don't want to wait again with uni sides. That's always the thing, isn't it? The fact that it's like a bit of a lottery when the players come in at the start of the season. But good job by Spartans, convincing win. We talked them up last week and look the part, and who knows what they can do this year. But it'll be interesting to watch for sure. All right, Boness versus Dalbeattie Star was the next game, and it was a 2-1 win for Dalbeattie, and Dalbeattie still are sitting joint top of the league as it stands.
Yeah, the league leaders, they're going to. I said it on Twitter, but I think they're going to win the league at this rate. I saw them against Caledonian Braves, and they're very impressive. It wouldn't surprise me. Right, I know I'm kind of joking about winning the league and stuff like that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they keep playing the way they are, that they'll be at least sort of top half pushing. I don't know. I don't want to jinx them, but they are looking really good and quite solid at the moment. But in terms of the game, obviously they got their goal just before halftime. Like I've mentioned before, Jack Dickinson from heads home from a near post header from a corner kick. So it was 1-0 Dalbeattie Star at the break. It was a penalty to Dalbeattie. The ball bashed off Jamie McCormack as he lay on the ground. Handball, but justice was done as Andy Murphy pulls off a brilliant save from the penalty. And Boness did equalise on the 80th minute. It was a ball smashed in from close range from Conor McMullen, but then Dalbeattie ran up the park and took the lead again, and obviously what turned out to be the winner a minute later from Russell Curry to make it 2-1 Star. And that's another thing that I've been really impressed with Russell Curry so far. He's a big guy, still young. I did read a report, I guess, or an article with Richie Maxwell where Russell had was a wee bit disappointed to get released from Annan Athletic, and I don't know what's happened there and why he was released, but to me he looks like he certainly, I don't think he'll be in the Lowland League for very long, let's put it that way. I don't know if that's going to be with Dalbeattie Star or another team, the way they're going, obviously, with their chances of promotion. But no, they're looking really solid. I think, in fairness to Dalbeattie, although the last 2 seasons, the results have not went their way, they have, in my opinion, always had a really decent side with guys like Lewis Sloan and even back in the day with guys like Scott Milliken obviously can get goals. So it's just, I don't think results have went their way all the time, and we're starting to see results go their way, and it kind of reminds me of I think it was 2 seasons ago. Remember they had a wee bit of a spell, Derek, where they were just beating everyone. It seems like that, but I hope it's more. I hope it's not just form, and it can become an actual really good season for them. But they have to stick on it. Hopefully they can stick on and really have a really decent season. But yeah, certainly they're looking really impressive, and obviously the guys on Twitter, or the squad I should say, are really chuffed at the moment. But I hope they push on. I hope they can push, and it's not just a good season, start a good season basically.
Yeah, I think it was Degs I saw on Twitter basically saying they were now the favourites, which I quite enjoyed as well. There's a few boys in there were good patter, so I'm delighted for them. They've had a good start. Brotherson's other name that comes to mind when we're thinking about previous years and boys that were able to score goals. They always seem to have somebody, don't they, that's there to stick the ball in the back of the net. But there's always a team that surprises us. I think last season maybe Gala was that team, or the season before, but I think Dalbeattie might be the best team of the southern sides, I'll say, rather than going the whole borders route and all that jazz. I'm pleasantly surprised, I must admit. The worry I've got is Bo'ness, because that's a team that they've spent some money on that squad, and their intention was to get up out of this league in the right end. They're sitting at the wrong end now, and I don't expect that to last very long, but it just seems that they're making silly mistakes and are getting punished for them. And for what most of their fans were saying, they basically gifted Star 2 chances and they took them both. So they need to sort it out quickly, because this league, there's not that many games. I know there's 18 teams now, but 34 games, and you can't go on a losing run and win this league. You've got to stop the rot quickly and get points on the board the right way around. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back for this.
I'll disagree, but I'll bring up my point later when we're talking about Bonnyrigg.
Which is where we're going now. So I'll let Ben lead us in.
I was going to say, Chris, Dalbeattie Star will be absolutely delighted that Chris is putting in a bat signal for Russell Curry at this early stage in the season to tell his League 1 and League 2 teams that saying he's better than this, because we know people from League 2 listening to this podcast, so who knows if they'll be...
I had already slid into the DMs to be the middleman. So.
Ben, in fairness, I did say that he might be going up to League 2 with Dalbeattie, to be fair. So.
He did. By the way, I would love to see that as well.
It's a long time away. Maybe it could totally derail their season now as Russell Curry signs for Stenny, for example, in League 2. I know Stenny will have a Lowland League player, so it'll be interesting.
You'll have a rampant-shaped wicker man later on than Islecroft.
That's it, that'll be it. All right, next game, as the boys just mentioned, it's Civil Service Strollers versus Bonnyrigg, and it was a win for Civil, 3-2 at Christy Gillis Park.
This is my standout result of the weekend, I think, despite everything, and there's a few surprises. This was the one that really caught my eye, because we'd not necessarily written off the Strollers, but we'd said they might find it difficult this year, and then they pull out this kind of performance against, let's be honest, Rose, who fancy themselves as the favourites to win this league. So a couple of minutes in, Civil took the lead through Bob Cole, but it was a back and forth. 14 minutes, George Hunter levelled up for Rose on his 50th competitive appearance, so congrats to George Hunter as well for that milestone. I love the description of this one. The 30th minute, an absolute finish from Danny Irving, restoring Civil's lead. That's very Partridge, big fan of that. So 2-1 Strollers at half time, and into the second half, 10 minutes gone, Hunter was pulled back in the box for a Rose penalty, Lee Curry dispatching it for the equaliser. But in the last kick of the game, basically, a trialist, there's been a few trialists scored the last few weeks, but giving Strollers the win with a late goal. They had just hit the bar just before that as well, from a corner, I believe. So Civil finished much stronger and they were rewarded for their positivity and their endeavour. So a brilliant 3-2 win for Strollers. I'll hold my hands up and say I maybe not quite wrote you off, but I maybe gave you a wee bit too much stick for early results. It's still early in the season. Question mark over Rose after that? It's probably a bit early to say so, but they'll be disappointed not to get anything to that game.
Robbie's going to be a wee bit disappointed with the result. I think he said obviously that Civil wanted it a wee bit more, which happens obviously and it sometimes decides games. But I think if you're going to drop points, you're better doing it early. And I know obviously guys like Max Christie and Robbie Horn don't want to drop points at any point in the season, but if they're going to drop points, it's better to be early. I just don't think there's going to be a team that's going to go on a winning run. There's not going to be many winning runs. I don't think there's going to be points dropped. For example, last season, Kelty, I think, only lost one game. East Kilbride, one game, and Bonnyrigg. I don't think we're going to get this season. I think teams are going to be taking points off each other for the whole season, not just the first few weeks. So I would be less concerned if I was the likes of Robbie or Max to be dropping points, as long as obviously the likes of Dalbeattie Star don't win every game or Rangers B. But we'll wait and see. I think they'll bounce back. I don't have any concerns with Bo'ness and Bonnyrigg. I think it's just going to be a very sort of strange season where we're going to have teams taking points off each other, and I don't think there's going to be an overly strong team. I mean, look at East Kilbride, case in point, I should say, against Celtic B. The first game, you expect them to win, and they drew. So the big teams, I think, they're going to take points off each other, and I think that it makes it for a more exciting season, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The final game on the fixture list was Cumbernauld Colts versus Gala Fairydean Rovers, and it was a 3-2 win for Gala.
Another 3-2. I kind of feel sorry for Gala because that's twice in the last sort of 2 episodes that I put them last. But yeah, another really decent win and a late goal and goals before half time. 12 minutes in, early pressure from Gala in the opening 10 minutes, creating 3 good chances. Opening goal comes from a corner following a Gareth Rogers driving at the Colts defence. And it was the captain that scored for Gala to give them the lead. 45 minutes, Sean Winter converts from the spot to draw Colts level just before half-time. And I say just before half-time, Colts did actually grab another goal into stoppage time with Craig Murray corner converted by Dominic McLaughlin. It was an own goal, according to Gala, but since I was covering for Ronan on the Lowland League website, I just gave it to Dom because I don't think he actually scores that many. So yeah, he's got the goal, but yeah, that might one that might need to be checked. Yeah, so
it should be a score panel of 1 there.
2. We'll have to see that. We'll have to see the SFA match report. We might have to take it off. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, you're checking the post, Dom, right?
So half-time 2-1 Colts. 55 minutes, it's Gala that draw level, driven cross to the back post, and it's finished by Kieran Chalmers, who's returned to the club. Really good, decent signing, that one. I had to actually ask if it was him. I wasn't sure if he was a trialist or whatnot, but he seems like he's back at Gala, which is a good signing. And the 92nd minute, it was Gala that grabbed the winner right at the death. Ross Aitchison gives Gala all the 3 points and a really decent win away from home at Broadwood Stadium. Obviously, Cumbernauld, I think, again, similar. We all think they've probably maybe got a better team this season. I did, it's strange. I remember everyone sort of thinking that Gala were going to take a step back this season, but since the opening day defeat against East Stirlingshire, they've actually won the last 2 against Bo'ness and Cumbernauld. So I don't know if they really have. It's still early days. Obviously, everything applies to all the teams. It's still early days, and we don't really. It comes down to the fact that I think, like what I said previously, there's going to be points dropped from all teams this season. But I have sort of kept a close eye on Gala since that opening day defeat. But then again, I think me and you, Derek, both said that we couldn't really put a lot of stock into that game because it seemed like just a mad one against East Lothianshire where there was red cards galore and whatnot. But very, very decent win for Gala. I'm not. I really don't know if I want to say that they're going to push or not. But been impressive since the disappointment of the opening day.
I'm going to be boring and say we can't put too much stock in this one either because it could have gone either way for what people are saying. They're two very decent sides in this league, and your general point I think is bang on that there will be more points won and lost this year. I think that we're not really going to have what has been in the past, say 3 or 4 sides just striding ahead of everyone else. I think it's going to be tighter than it has been in a long, long time, which can only be a good thing for the health of the league. But fair play to Gala. That's an away day trip that in the past we'd have probably written them off for, saying that's a long journey and they'll probably be happy with a draw. But 92nd minute, getting the winner, they'll be absolutely delighted with that. And Colts will go again. We know they're a decent side this year, so we'll get into the next fixtures and we'll see if they bounce back or not.
That's the roundup for the previous week. Shout out to our sponsors, Soccer Shop Direct. Find them on Twitter at the Soccer Shop D. Check out their website, www.thesoccershopdirect.com, for all your teamwear and football equipment needs. That's another week in the Lowland League. If you want to find Moza, where can we find you?
At Moza Plays on Twitter, and you'll find me everywhere else from there. And I'll throw over to Chris.
At Rampant FM on Twitter, and you can find the official Catchup at official Catchup. And like honestly, probably just better using Google. Type it in Lowland League Catchup, official Catchup. You'll actually find us like everywhere. Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube. Everywhere.
You'll find me on Twitter at Mr. Ben Grant. You probably going to add another couple of teams to the hate mail list this week, so fire away if you've got any issues. Send them my way. But that's another week here at the official Catch Up. We'll be back next week with more Lowland League action. Cheers.
Catches.